New Zealand is in a unique position. While we're a developed nation, in international terms our economy looks more like one that is still developing, in terms of it still being driven largely by agriculture. And when it comes to the developed world researching ways to reduce their emissions, agriculture is largely passed over. So New Zealand decided to do something about it by forming the Global Research Alliance.
It came out of the particular problem New Zealand has amongst the developed countries that were members of the Kyoto Protocol. We were the only developed country for whom agriculture emissions was the defining issue. For everyone else it's around energy production basically, but not New Zealand. So with 49%, let's call it half of our emissions coming from agriculture, we were just completely a standout problem area. And because only developed countries took obligations under the Kyoto Protocol, developing countries weren't expected basically to do anything, then really nobody was paying any attention to agriculture emissions.
The Alliance is all about scientific networking, bringing the world's finest farming minds together to look at ways of reducing methane and carbon emissions from agriculture.
So I understand that about 30 countries have come on board, but there's also been a bunch of organisations. Who has come on board?
We put in a very important peg for other institutions that are not governments to associate themselves with our work. And we have a variety of different institutions in mind. I mean, to be perfectly blunt, in my mind, first and foremost, are some of the world's giant agri-businesses. I'm talking about people like Nestle, Cargills, and others. Companies like this, multi-billion-dollar companies, have massive research budgets. And we want to access those research budgets. And what's more, we want them to spend their research money, not just on trying to extract more protein at lower cost, well, protein is the focus of our agriculture, of course, but also to contribute to trying to find science solutions.
The greenhouse emission work will be focused on three main groups: livestock, rice paddies and cropping. New Zealand has put 24 million into the joint research pot, while the United States have put in more than 90 million US. Mr. Groser says it is vital that New Zealand plays its part in climate change, but not because of the reason commonly presented to farmers.
One of the problems has been that the previous government oversold this to farmers. And they in particular tried to scare the proverbial, so this is a family program so I can't use the vernacular, out of them by saying that if they didn't do this, the roof was going to come down on their heads and government was going to put up barriers to New Zealand agriculture exports. Now let me use the vernacular. That is crap.
He says that we must keep our eye on the way the market is moving and keep satisfying the environmental criteria of the big buyers like the Walmarts, Marks and Spencers and Tesco's.
This government is not ideological about this. We're looking at this as a practical problem that needs to be solved. And we're not going to do this in a way that disrupts the absolute foundation of New Zealand's competitive edge. So, of course you'll find we'll get criticised by extreme green groups. We can live with that. And we'll get criticised on the right by people that think the whole climate change is some international conspiracy. We can live with that. But what we're trying to do is to just advance in a practical way, ways in which we can, New Zealand can play its part, but without, frankly, screwing our agriculture.
Mr. Groser says that the Global Research Alliance has the potential to be 70 times more important than New Zealand's contribution to climate efforts through the emissions trading scheme.
If there is a more important international economic initiative that New Zealand has put together entirely on its own, Todd, I'm not aware of it.
Benedict Collins, Country 99 TV News.